Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is the Mundane Matt channel, and you know, 3 years ago, a little event happened called Gamergate. And one of the things that happened with Gamergate is it was uncovered that many games journalists were involved in this group called the Game Journos Pros. Now, this particular group was founded as a way for them to share resources, share intel, talk about the industry, so on and so forth. But what it really boiled down to was it was a group that was pretty much dedicated to nepotism and cronyism and collusion and all that kind of stuff, right? There's a lot of that came out that really showcased how incestuous games writing is. And here's the deal. Comic book writing, same thing. Same thing, and that's what we're learning here today. When Marvel, DC, and other SJW comic writers conspired to harass a critic at Comic-Con. Yeah. Go figure on this one. I was shocked when I heard this. People have been asking me to cover this all week. And I saw the video from Diversity in Comics about this, and I'm just kind of blown away because holy crap, he has really pissed some people off, man. And that to me is hysterical because this is one dude who has a YouTube channel that has really triggered a number of comics writers. So to that, you have to almost give the dude props, right? You have to almost do it. Why? Because these people, for one, are kind of dickish, especially when you see what they've done here. And two, it's just funny to see that one dude has pissed them off that much. So it's almost... you almost want to see what's going to happen next. But let's continue here. So it says here, a secret Facebook group of DC, Marvel, Image Comics, and other writers, including B. Clay Moore, Isaac Goodhart, Kelly Thompson, and Taylor Esposito, revealed that some of the comic industry's top talent were plotting to harass the creator of the YouTube channel Diversity in Comics due to his critical reviews that exposes the comics industry's SJW agenda to the public. Here's the thing. A lot of us talk about how there's SJW content in comics and how there's a lot of it that is just so stupid. Like case in point, you know, Thor's grandfather and the whole unsolicited opinions on Israel comment that made literally no sense. And still a year plus later doesn't make any damn sense. But that's the kind of stuff that we talk about when we make fun of them pushing Mockingbird's Ask Me About My Feminist Agenda and the, you know, Loki making the line about, oh, it's about ethics and journalism or whatever it was. That was clearly a tag at, you know, a dig at Gamergate. Like we make fun of this kind of stuff because we know that it's going to be short-lived in the comics industry. Mostly because, well, people are tired of the identity politics that goes into it. Like, more importantly, like when Brian Michael Bendis tried to basically make Iceman gay in a scene where Jean Grey was basically imprinting that idea onto him, like telepathically telling him, no, homie, you gay. And he's like, I don't think I'm gay. Like, I don't really feel like I'm gay. She's like, no, you're totally gay. And he's like, yeah, you know, you're right. I'm gay now. Where's that penis? Like, that's what people are rallying against. It's like writing that is just horrifically dumb, horrifically stupid, pandering, lazy, unintelligent, uninspired, and you're just identity politics out the ass. And people are tired of that. They want good stories. You can have identity politics and stories, by the way. But when you make that the meat of the meal versus, let's say, like the garnish, people aren't really going to like it. You never really get anywhere in these industries by bashing things on the head. It takes time, but these writers don't get that. But anyway, I digress off my rant. It says, well, it sounds like some sort of outlandish fanfiction put together in the lice-infested backwoods of a shady Kentucky farm where buck-toothed cannibals and law-evading moonshiners congregate in a shanty shack outside the grid. It's actually a real story that took place within the confines of a private Facebook group consisting of some of the comic industry's top talent. Okay, this is where I have to talk about the author here. Dude, that's like one sentence that really doesn't have anything to do with anything else. I just want to criticize that part of the article as being, you can omit that. I get the imagery you're going for. You can simplify it. Anyway, the story about the conspiracy broke courtesy of John Del Eraz, who posted up the video footage taken from the private Facebook group exposing what the writers had planned for the YouTube channel Diversity in Comics. And there's a 15-minute video, which we're not going to watch because that's way too long. But you go through this and you can see what they say. You can see what they were trying to do. And that is so interesting. Because, again, Diversity in Comics is just one dude. One guy. And they are deathly afraid of him. They are afraid of this guy. A guy, they don't know what he looks like. They don't know anything about him, but they're like, if you see him here, come find me and I will end my panel to go and get him booted or some crap like this. And it's just, that's from Mark Waid, by the way. All right. Like that's how weird this situation's gotten. It says, in the group, B. Clay Moore, the writer of Hawaiian Dick, a comic that's in negotiations at NBC to become a live-action show with actor Johnny Knoxville set to produce, responds to some of his peers who mentioned Zach from Diversity in Comics will be at the New York Comic Con. Moore, across a couple posts, writes, knowing Diversity in Comics is going to be there makes me wish I was going. The last thing Diversity in Comics is going to do is get violent at a con, but I'd love to follow him around trying to goad him into throwing a punch. And that, again, is a part of the idea there. It's like, oh, well, you know, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. But you're going to one day punch me and then I'll be able to claim harassment and I'm have you thrown in jail. Like, come on, people. Like, I understand maybe you're in a forum and you're blowing off some steam. But, you know, when you start going into the specifics about it, you might just want to, you know, back away from Facebook, go have a wank and come back. Taylor Esposito, former employee at DC Comics and Marvel, chimed in with the following: I'd love to yell one punch after you level him. Okay. When the Facebook posts were brought to the attention of Moore, he says that they have no plans to harass Diversity in Comics, but that they just want to talk with him. Mentioning across a collection of tweets here, good grief, tell everyone to chill out. I'm not goading Richard into a fight, private forum stuff. Wade wants to talk to him, not arrest him. As if being critical of the current state of affairs of Marvel and DC Comics is an arrestable offense. I think these guys have spent a little bit too much time writing about Sentinel's persecution of the X-Men, if you know what I mean, right? He goes on to say here, I'm as annoyed about this as I was when someone tried to get Ethan Van Shriver in trouble over a private conversation on my Facebook page. Okay. I sat down and watched some of Diversity in Comics videos last night, and I'd be interested in talking with him in private at a con. Everyone pretending to freak out is pretty boring. So he gets called out. He gets called out for these comments he made. I'm going to follow him around and force him to punch me. And then I'm just going to lay him out. He's going to get one punch and I'm just going to lay him out. You know, and then, whoa, man. Whoa, dog. Whoa, chill. I was just, man, look, I was only playing. I'm going to talk to the dude. But that's it. That's the entire point here. You know, they're going to talk big behind the closed doors, but when they're called out, they're like, well, I wasn't really meaning it. Going to show you that these writers of superheroes, these writers of invincible men, so to speak, and invincible women, don't have the cojones themselves to actually attempt to back up what they say, which is fine. It's good. We don't want violence. Let's just be realistic here. Nobody wants violence. What people want is just there to be an actual conversation. So if they're willing to have a conversation, then that is something that is good. But in the meantime, it's just hysterical to me that they're out there going like, I'm gonna get him to punch me. I'm gonna get him to punch me. You know, throw a punch and then I can knock his ass out and it'll be perfectly legal. Because that's essentially what they're alluding to. This comes after SJWs in the comic industry have gone out of their way to dox Diversity in Comics in hopes of going after him personally. Yeah. I mean, that's how scared of him they are. You know, that's how scared of him. That's the hysterical thing. It's almost identical to the group function within the gaming industry known as Game Journal Pros, as I mentioned earlier. Nevertheless, Diversity in Comics has been slowly growing his YouTube presence, nearing 40,000 subscribers, which is almost more than the average comic book that Marvel and DC sells each month, which is true. And again, that's one of those things. It has a lot to do with the fact that Marvel, look, okay, I will be fair to Marvel and DC here, especially Marvel. DC tends to do okay, but Marvel, They know that there is profitability in number ones, meaning they will run a comic for 7-8 issues. They will cancel said comic. They will have a new comic brought out. People will buy that number one comic, and maybe number 2 and number 3 a little bit, in order to get a couple that are going to be maybe in mint condition, or they want to check out the story. Then they realize that it's just poorly written garbage, and they put it down and they don't go back to it, and they wait for Marvel to start the entire process all over again. It's literally the equivalent of Marvel throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. That's it. That's all they're doing. And Diversity in Comics is calling a lot of this out, as are people like myself. Funny, I've never been approached by this. I've got nearly 3 times. I've got over almost 4 times the amount of subscribers that Diversity in Comics has. And yet I've never been approach like this. Maybe because my name and my face are out there, they have nothing they can hold over me. But you know what? I find it funny that they're going to go after a small guy for criticizing them when people like myself and others who are, I guess you could say, larger channels and larger presences, and not only on YouTube but social media as a whole, are left unscathed. It goes to show you that you can't back up your ideas with discussion or criticism against those larger people, but you'll go after the smaller ones because you want to bully the little guy in order to feel better. It's okay. We get it. We get it. We've seen this before in gaming. We've seen this kind of behavior before. And I just want to kind of give you guys a spoiler alert on this one. You lose all the time. You lose. You're Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. You think you're going to win. You think you've got the numbers. You go out to the polls and you end up walking away with literally nothing but a horrible book that nobody's going to want to read in 2 months' time. Hate to burst your bubble, but I'll be the bearer of bad news here. Anyway, the channel has been going hard after DC and Marvel, mostly Marvel, for their heavy social justice warrior slant in storytelling and characterizations. Many longtime comic book fans have been noting the quality of the writing and storytelling has gone down drastically since Marvel and DC have adopted the diversity hiring and centering stories around leftist-style political agendas, which is true, they have. And again, as a person who is politically left of center, I have nothing against these kind of stories, but they have to be crafted in a way that is not the entire meal. It's a garnish of the meal. You have to have a very cool story and have that stuff peppered around in order to not be the main the main course, but to maybe be something that you might digest on the side. Oh yeah, that's an interesting little point right there. And you think about it later because it gets buried in your subconscious. But when you hit someone over the head with a salmon and yell out message, people are going to lose interest. That's just how it is. But they don't quite realize this because there's an echo chamber of these writers that they never want to escape from. Again, gaming and Gamergate, most importantly, has shown us that this stuff exists in every single facet of entertainment and things like this. And it gets called out time and time again, and you guys lose time and time again. And that's because you preach equality, you preach inclusion, you preach diversity, unless those thoughts are not what you deem to be acceptable. And then you turn on them in a heartbeat and you dox a critic. The problem here, my friends, are you. Now, I'm not saying people on like the criticism side of things don't have issues of their own. Too many people out there actually attack the person rather than the idea, and that is a problem. But when you guys are going after a person through doxing them and trying to conspire to harass them at a convention, it kind of leads them to want to attack the person because that person at that point is kind of a cunt. Just saying. The comic writers are taking great offense at diversity in comics, mostly jovial criticisms and mockery of their content. The writers decided to go after the channel by partaking in his doxing and attempting to go a step further by attempting to get him ejected from a convention. Funny thing is, I was just at PAX a couple weeks ago, and I ran into a fan, and he came up to me and he was all like, "Dude, you're totally like, why are you showing your face here?" sort of thing. Like, I forget the exact phrasing, but it was like, why are you showing your face here? Why are you here? And I looked at him and said, dude, no one cares. Like, no one gives a shit. No one cares. I go to Comic-Con, no one cares. I'm at Penny Arcade Expo, no one cares. I'll go to other conventions, like VidCon, no one cares. All of this drama, all of this nonsense is online only. Take this into the real world. The vast majority of people give zero fucks. They don't care. And that's the whole point. If you act like you care, if you give in to their madness, then you are also part of that problem. Going on to say, Isaac Goodhart, the writer of Postal for Top Cow Productions, had earlier posted in the Facebook thread that he had been informing everyone about diversity in comics, along with New York Comic Con staff and management, saying here that he's been informing them, his name is blank, and security and management are aware of him. You gotta love that. It's all like, this guy I don't like with the mean things about me on the internet is coming over to see me. He's coming to the same convention I'm coming to. Oh my god. Okay, everybody. I've told the New York Comic Con. See, here's the thing. San Diego Comic Con, they don't care. But New York Comic Con and San Diego Comic Con aren't the same thing. I'd be more concerned about New York Comic Con simply because the New York Comic Con is one that actually follows a lot of these SJW guidelines. And you know, they might be more willing to boot him out simply because they're more prescribed to that ideology. Whereas San Diego, dude, they don't care. Like, they don't get it. Dude, there's like 150,000 people there. They're like, the likelihood of you running into each other, minimal. You know what I mean? Like, I've got hundreds of friends that go to Comic-Con every year. I barely run into any of them unless I plan it ahead of time. There's that many people there. But finishing up here, it says, tensions between the established corporate comics industry and diversity in comics escalated after Aubrey Sitterson from IDW Publishing ended up in a spat with the YouTuber after Citizen denigrated 9/11 mourners. SJWs who were friends of Sitterson began coming to his aid, which includes leftist media organizations who began putting out hit pieces against diversity in comics. It's a slow boil that's nearly coming to a tipping point of turning into a 2017 edition of Gamergate for the comic book industry. They're even claiming that diversity in comics criticism of their comic books, art, and writing is harassment. However, most comic book fans would tend to disagree. And yeah, I totally am on board with that. I'm totally on board with that. It's true, man. Like the comics writings that these people are doing now, they're not very good. The storytellers aren't good. We see the same problem in movies too. The storytelling is not very good. And it might be because they're lazy. It might be because they're trying to shoehorn politics or identity politics or narratives in there that people aren't just gelling with. Maybe they're spending too much time attacking their audience instead of actually focusing on crafting a story that tells their message in a way that doesn't seem preachy. Maybe just try something like that. But how about this? Why don't you actually focus on your craft instead of getting butthurt over one dude with 40,000 subscribers who criticizes you online, who's even openly admitted to calming down some of the rhetoric that he says in order to make it an easier transition for you to apply the butthurt cream. Oh my God, I'm flaring up every time you get close to putting on the preparation H. All right, so listen, here's the thing. You guys all need to grow up. Diversity in comics is going to be critical. That's his right to be critical. You have the right to not like what he says. You have the right to not agree with it. You have the right to be vocal about that. Absolutely. But when you sit there and you try to conspire privately to get him booted from a con or to try to goad him into punching you, you'll lose your victim status. You'll lose your moral high ground because you're just as bitchy as the rest of everybody else. And you clearly need to get out of your own echo chamber. Hey guys, that wraps up this video. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so below. I love to read your guys' input. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. If you want to support the channel, there's the Amazon affiliate store, there's PayPal, there's Patreon, there's Bitcoin. And if you're bored and you want something else to watch, check out 3 Buck Theater up here. My name is Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a wonderful day. Peace out.